What's up, creative world? In today's video, we're finally gonna start the design of our first solo project, a 2,800 square foot home in Greenwich, Connecticut. And before the end of the video, you're gonna see the full design. So let's get to it. Our job is to transform what might be the ugliest house in this block into my client's multi-million-dollar dream home. And the work started about 3 weeks ago when I took the first tour of the house to assess what we were working with. I think 20 years ago, this would have been pretty dope. The closets are pretty small. The wallpaper is also very outdated. We also documented the existing conditions by measuring the entire house, drawing the existing floor plans, and building the full existing 3D model. And now we are finally ready to start designing. But before we draw even a single line, we got to do a little homework and make sure we know exactly what we're getting into. And there are 3 things we need clarity on. The first thing is a zoning study. Zoning is basically the rules and regulations set forth by the city or municipality that governs where your building is located. And they dictate everything like how big a lot can be, how far it needs to be from the property line, to how much you can build on that lot. So knowing this information is very crucial. That way we don't design something that's not allowed on the site that we're working on. So we start the study by looking at the Greenwich zoning site and specifically looking for the map. And then we locate where our house is, which is in this area, and that tells us we are in zone R7. So tell me, what is allowed in Greenwich R7 zone? Well, that's what this graph is for. So when we look for our zone, R7, it tells us that we can build up to 2.5 stories, but it can't be any more than 35 feet, and that each lot has to be at least 7,500 square feet. But you can only build 36% of that 7,500. I have no idea who's watching these videos, if you're a design or architecture nerd, or if you just have a thing for mustaches, but I will explain what this ratio thing is. So this thing that we're looking at is called the FAR, or floor area ratio. And that basically is the ratio that tells you how much of your full lot area you're actually allowed to build out. But you're probably wondering, why are they telling you that you can't build the whole thing? Why can you only build a part of it? Well, this is a way that cities can regulate how big they get. Zoning regulates the town and puts some regulations to allow for things to just grow under control and to maintain the fabric of the neighborhoods and make sure that things are just cohesive. Like, you don't want a mechanic shop right next to your house. You know, that would be in a more commercial area of the town as opposed to like a single family area of the town. Another thing that's very important to us right now is called the setbacks, and that just means how much a house has to be from the edge of the property line. So according to the chart, we have to be at least 25 feet away from the front property line and 25 feet away from the back property line. The side is a little bit weird. It says 5 foot, sum of both, not less than 15. That just basically means that when you take into account how far away this house will be from either side of the property line, those numbers have to add up to 15. But it has to be at least 5 foot from one property line. And that's to prevent you from going like, well, it's 1 foot away from one property line and 14 feet away from the other property line. That won't cut it. Awesome. Now we know what our zoning requirements are. So we have to look at our survey and figure out what that actually means for our site. This is a copy of our survey, and it tells us a couple important things, like this is our property line and this is the perimeter of the existing house. What we need right now is this little number, 7,910. That is the size of our lot. And out of that 7,910 square feet, we can only build up to 36% of that number. And this is our zoning calculation. We are in an R7 zone, our lot is 7,910, and 36% of that is 2,847. Now, our basement takes up 240.5 square feet, our first floor takes up 1,293 square feet, and we don't have a second floor. That totals 1,533 and a half, which means that out of this number, if we take that out, we can add an additional 1,314 0.1 square feet. All that work to tell us that if we keep part of the existing, we can add up to roughly 1,300 square feet. The survey also helps us figure out what our buildable area is. So from the back, we have to be 25 foot away from the property line. On the side, we have to be 10 foot plus another 5 foot, which equals 15. And then at the front, another 25 feet. So out of the 2,847 square feet that we can build on this lot, that can only happen inside of this pink area right here. Now that we know our zoning constraints, we can go on to homework number 2. The second thing is the client's dream list. This is referring to all the things the client wants in their house, like how many bedrooms or how big the kitchen should be. And that information comes from all the conversations we've had since the first day I was hired. And I should have a lot of those things written down. Okay. And usually I get that information from the client at the onset of the project with all of our early conversations. So here we go. Sean and Carrie's dream list. One thing that they really want is the primary suite to be on the first floor. They want a nice bathroom. It doesn't have to be too big, but they definitely want a tub and a shower. But what they really want is a giant, big walk-in closet, like really big. That's something that they're really particular about. They also want a nice big kitchen with an island for enough seating for their guests and a breakfast area. A large living room, and they want the kitchen and the living room to be in the big open format so that they share one big space. The thought is that this is the main purpose of the house. This is where they're gonna be having their friends, enjoying their family. So big open space with kitchen and living. They also don't care for a formal dining room. They want a lounge area. So instead of a formal like family room, they want a lounge area more for adults with like a built-in bar. They also want a laundry on the first floor, a laundry in the basement. They also want a private office on the first floor, and on the second floor they want 3 bedrooms, one with a bath, and the other 2 bedrooms can share a Jack and Jill bathroom. And they want to make sure that they have plenty of room for entertainment in the backyard. That's their dream list. What else is on our homework list? Third, but not least, is the client's inspiration. And this is the part of the project where the fun really begins. The dream list refers to the number of rooms and how big each room should be. Now, the inspiration list refers more to how each room should communicate with each other and what it should feel like to be in those rooms. It also means what should the style of the house be in the outside and what they want it to look like overall, which basically means that we get to scroll through Pinterest. Look at all these beautiful pictures. How do you not get inspired after looking at all these beautiful buildings? This is a collection of the pictures that inspired the client and then pictures that inspired me. But I used the pictures that inspired the client to generate images that inspired me. This is a collaboration. A lot of the images they sent looked something like this very earthy and rustic cabin in the woods. This is another image that they sent, which is a little bit more modern and, as the image suggests, an English cottage. But then they also sent stuff like this, which is a much more modern style house. And this, look, it's all glass. And I'll be honest, I'm way more inspired by this than I am by this. So this is an image that I found that I think marries both of the styles, and so is this one. This one feels a lot more rustic, but I like the little overhangs and the big windows and even these like flat dormers. That brings out the modern that I think they're going to like. Then we have images like this, and this is a lot more modern, but I really like the materials. This also looks really cool. We have the stone elements that they like. We have a lot of the ivies and the wooded things that's going on here, but the big windows and the big dormers with the overhangs feel very modern, and I really like that. Same thing with this one. We have the materials that they like, but we have the big windows and the modern style that I like. My goal is to create a melting pot of architecture that I like and shapes that inspire me. And then other images are just materials that help figure out the palette moving forward. This is starting to look like one of those scenes in A Beautiful Mind where the guy just pins up a bunch of stuff on the wall and starts writing on the windows. My office is starting to look like that. So now we have the dream list and the inspiration. We can finally sit down and get to work. And now we are faced with the blank page. The scariest moment before every project. I've been excited to start drawing, but now that I have to perform and I know I'm under the gun, fear starts to creep in. Am I gonna get this done in time? Are they gonna like my ideas? Am I gonna be able to come up with ideas before the deadline? The easiest thing I can do right now is do a little site analysis to get my juices flowing. So we know that this is north, this is east, this is west, and this is south. Our front door is right here, and this is gonna be the trajectory of our sun, meaning all of the good light is gonna come down this way. I also have the setback. Remember we talked about the setback? I have the setback lines sketched in right here. So right now what I want to do is just do some doodles and create some bubble diagrams to figure out how I want the house to be structured. Generally, where do I want certain spaces to be? Trying to come up with a concept, an idea that's going to help push the project forward, that's going to help me make decisions as the project progresses. So here is our little bubble diagram. It's just a concept showing how I want to separate the public areas from the private areas and giving the living room and the master bedroom access to the backyard. I know it doesn't look like much, but right now we're simply organizing our ideas and giving us that north arrow to follow forward. It's actually Wednesday right now. Our presentation is on Monday. So we have the next 5 days to really pull this design together and get our presentation ready. And we have a lot of work to do. Not only do we have to come up with a couple floor plans. I don't want to show up with one floor plan. I want to show up with 2 or 3 floor plan options for the clients. And then we also have to do the 3D models, coming up with the full idea of what the exterior is going to look like. It's going to be a long 5 days. At this stage, the creative juices are flowing, so I'm just trying to have some fun sketching. The lines are very messy and very loose. The idea here is just to try out a couple concepts. Nothing perfect. I'll use the SketchUp model of the existing house and the existing floor plans to keep studying it in order to help me formulate new ideas as I look through Pinterest. And we start a long process of trying out new ideas, throwing them out, trying out new ideas, and throwing them out. So I've been practicing patience because the good ideas never come right away. I always start with a very foggy vision, but it also is it's like a strong vision. Strong in the sense of I don't want to deviate from it, and I really want to figure out and bring more clarity to it. And I get stuck in that rut instead of kind of going in other directions and looking for other, let's say, foggy visions to chase. Because we want the primary suite on the first floor, one of my goals is to divide the floor plan into a private area and a semi-private area. So where we're gonna have the homeowners living and hanging out in their own master suite, and having division so that when everyone else is hanging out in the house, if they have guests or when the kids are playing, so that it doesn't all mold together. We want to create some of that division. Right now it's separated between left and right, and I'm looking for a way to do it differently. And part of the reason why it is that way is because I want the primary bedroom to have view and access to the backyard, but maybe that's not what we do, and that's something I'm having a hard time letting go of. I think this is looking promising, and although it's just a sketch, I'm happy that I'm getting away from that rut that I was in. I'm thinking differently, but this is still very rough. I'm going to add a little bit more detail into it because right now this sketch is just so loose and the scale doesn't translate 100%. So the more we refine it, the more questions we have to answer. So I'm gonna do another pass at this plan, being a little bit more literal and trying to stick within my 1/8 inch scale to make sure that things fit. It's gonna move a little bit, some things might not work and we'll have to push things around, but I really like the direction that we're in now. So the plan held up. It's still looking good, but now we're gonna put it into AutoCAD and make sure that it actually works. This is gonna be the real test, so let's get to it. This is what it's looking like. I think we got something. It's looking promising, but it's not perfect. I have a little issue that I still need to work out, and I think this is pretty important. Here is our floor plan. When you enter, this will be the living room. This is the powder room. This is the kitchen and dining area. This is the family room. This is the primary suite. This is the primary bedroom, primary bathroom, closet, and then this is an office, and this will be a little mudroom entrance thing that you can leave all the junk when you walk into the house. And this plan works well for two reasons. The first reason is that the orientation and how we prioritize the sun works really well. The sun rises here in the east, goes along the south, and sets right here on the west, meaning that all of our good light throughout the day comes in this way, which means our family room, our kitchen, our living room, and our primary bedroom get the most amount of sun throughout the day, which is fantastic. I love that. The other thing this plan does really well is that it separates the private and the public area. So this is public and this is private. The purple area is the primary suite. So we want that to stay private. The public area is where everyone's gonna be hanging out. This plan does that well. We do have a good separation between the public, the private, and the public. The only problem with this plan is that the primary bedroom door is right here. Can you imagine that? Like every time you walk in or walk out of your primary bedroom, there's people staring at you. Okay, we've had a breakthrough. The past couple of days I've been working really hard, staying up late, trying to figure all of this out, and I think we're turning the corner. Look at this. These are all the different drawings and sketches of trying to figure things out. This is all the early stages, so many iterations, going over a bunch of ideas, and it's all worth it because after all those days of struggling and late nights, we have a floor plan that is 90% there. We have a fully completed floor plan option. Here we have the basement floor plan, this is the first floor plan, and this is the second floor plan. I'll be going over those in details with you towards the end of the video, but right now we're still doing work. So I'm just happy that I stopped spinning my wheels and I was able to at least create at least a single option for my clients to look at. Now we're translating that into a 3D form. You've also seen me spin my wheels like crazy, going back and forth between 2D and 3D, and I think I got all my ideas out, and I'm finally able to just focus on something. We're not done yet, but at least we have a good roughed out massing. Also, from an aesthetic standpoint, it doesn't necessarily fit the description of what they're looking for. So right now that we have the massing, I'm gonna work on it for the next couple of hours and try to massage it and get it to the aesthetic and to the feel that we want. It's also 3 o'clock in the morning on a Friday, but we prayed for this. Now we have to do the work. Okay, the pieces are finally starting to fall into place, and I think that we're getting closer to what we want. Yesterday, we went to bed at 5 o'clock in the morning. The good news is that we made some progress. I got one of the plans to work with a 3D model. I think the whole thing looks pretty good. And what I like to do when I'm getting close, but I still need to kind of see through the fog, I like to use ChatGPT and get some of the inspiration images and marry my model and my design with those images to kind of see if the direction that we're going is right, or just to kind of get the emotions flowing. And this is what we got. So this is our current 3D model. And this is 100% accurate per the plan, meaning that the plan that we drew for this model matches exactly. Like all the window locations are correct. The massing of it is 100% accurate. So this is the model, and then this is a ChatGPT rendering. And here are some other options. There's that one, there's this one, and this one. I like using AI to help fill in the gaps between my imagination and reality. When we're looking at a SketchUp model, it only looks good, or it will only give you like a good feeling until you put a lot of detail into it, which takes up a lot of time. So you have to first like have the scheme exactly like you want, have all the massing exactly right, and then start adding a bunch of detail. And doing that makes it really challenging to try out different ideas, especially when you're under the gun and you have a big deadline. So if you get the model to like, 60 or 70%, and then you throw out some ideas into ChatGPT, it helps kind of fill in the gaps so that you could start to visualize further down the line before you spend too much time modeling and then having to, not use it. But it's important to note that like when you do use ChatGPT, a lot of it comes out wrong. Like it looks cool when you glance at it and you get that instant feeling of like, whoa, okay, that's the right direction. But then when you examine it closely, like you start to notice all these weird, quirky things that just doesn't make sense. For instance, in this model, we see that like the roof right there doesn't connect here. And actually, you're not even supposed to have that roof over there. Also, the garage isn't actually a garage. The grade is all weird. So it's far from accurate, but when you glance at it and maybe like squint your eyes a little bit, it starts to make that vision a little bit clearer. So you say, okay, maybe this is the right type of material that we should use, right? Maybe we can go in this direction. So I like to use it to help kind of push myself along. And now that we have these renderings, I have a clearer vision of the finish line. So this is like the last push. And one of the things I need to figure out right now is how we're gonna get from the street level to the front door. As you can see, this is the street and the house is way up here. So we have to go up. So as you can see, we have to go up a bunch of steps to get to the front door. And when we look at the model, it reflects that as well. So I'm trying to figure out an elegant way that we can go from the driveway right here to the front door. The AI rendering kind of starts to give us a good idea of how to do that. But again, it's very wonky. It's completely inaccurate. So that's the next thing to figure out. And I think if we get that done, we're gonna be in good shape. We did it, Creative World. We're finally finished. It's currently 7 o'clock on Sunday. Our meeting is tomorrow. And for the past couple of days, I haven't gone to bed before 5 a.m. once. It's been a rough couple of days. A lot of work, but definitely worth it. I knew it was going to come down to this because with my job and then doing this project on the side and all the other responsibilities, it's just been a lot, but we got to do whatever it takes to follow our dreams. So let's go check out the plans and see what you think. I'm genuinely absolutely in love with what we came up with. And I will tell you that at the beginning, I was hoping for something like this, but I wasn't sure we were gonna get there. There was a moment during the week while I was working on this that it felt so far away and I didn't believe it that I was gonna make it. But I was hoping we'd come up with something like this, and I think we really nailed it. First and foremost, the approach of the house looks really, really good. We have plenty of parking, and then once you park, we go up these steps. We go through the grass. There'll be pavers here, but we go through the grass and then we go up the other steps to the front door of the house. I really like the two-tiered stone wall approach that we came up with. I think it breaks up that big wall and it doesn't make the house look super, super tall. I also really love the simple shapes that we came up with, which keeps it, again, very sleek, very modern. But then using this uneven brick makes it look rustic, kind of like the English townhouse that they really liked as an example. We have a lot of glass all around the house, which I absolutely also love. And overall, the house feels modest. It doesn't feel gigantic, even though we have 2,300 square feet. The approach alongside the side of the house is also really cool. As you come around, we have these doors that open up into the kitchen and dining room area, and then we kind of have the back of the house as we make our way into the patio area. And then I love that once you come around to the back of the house, it feels way more modern. It's almost like it transforms or it opens up into something a little bit different, which is really, really cool. Particularly with the roof deck and the black cladding around the master bedroom, and obviously with the big glass facade facing the backyard. Just imagine being in the living room, looking through all of that glass into the patio, or vice versa, when you're in that patio and you have that beautiful glow of the living room coming outside on a nice summer evening. The very interesting thing about this house is that like 80% of the program is all on the first floor, which means that the second floor is very small. And we were able to keep it very tight and very neat, because most of it is contained within the roof of the house in these dormers, which is what allows the house to feel modest, feel small, and not so massive. So what do you think? Is that the most awesome house you have ever seen? Because I think we did a pretty good job. Let me know in the comments what you generally think of the design. If you thought it was cool, if you thought it was weird, or if you think we need to start over, or if you think that our clients are gonna absolutely love it, because I really hope they do. Also, let me know what you think of this video, because I'm trying to figure out how to actually show my process as a designer, as an artist. And sometimes making these videos is very hard, because I don't know if you're here and you've watched this entire video, if you like me being more technical and teaching about the actual design process, if you actually want to see the screen recordings of me modeling, of me doing AutoCAD, or if you want to see me sketching, or if you just want me to create a very simple and quick entertaining video and then show the beauty shots at the end. So I'm really trying to figure out how to tell the story of my process and the way that I work. So if you let me know in the comments, that would mean a lot to me, and that would help me make better videos for you. And make sure that you stay tuned for the next video, because in the next video, we're gonna show the reactions of the clients, what they think, and the direction that we're gonna go from there. So until next time, Creative World, thank you so much for hanging out with me. Peace out, and never stop creating.